Good morning, everybody. Before we commence proceedings, can I just have agreement from the fellow councillors that they're happy for me to be appointed chair?
Yes, I agree that you should be chair.
Okay. Are there any declarations of interest?
No.
Okay. To members of the public, my name is Councillor Andrew Hodson. As you just heard, I'll be chairing this meeting. I'm joined by fellow councillors Karl, Greaney and Dave Mitchell, who'll be sitting on this committee. Would the other officers, this is where it becomes a bit difficult, take it in turn to just introduce yourselves, starting with Margaret. Are you there, Margaret? You're on mute. You're back on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry.
Can you just say
Good morning, everyone. It's Margaret O'Donnell. I'm the licensing manager.
Okay, Anne?
Morning, I'm Anne Beecham, committee officer.
Who else we got? Ali?
Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Ali Beati. I'm the solicitor to the panel.
Richard?
Hi, Richard Leyland, licensing officer.
And a younger member. Bryn, do you have to make yourself known?
I haven't done in the past, but I'm Bryn Griffiths and I'm running the webcast for the public viewing.
It's just for clarity. Felicity, could you just pronounce how you pronounce your surname, please?
Yes, good morning. It's Tulloch.
And what's your position today?
I'm a solicitor from Kite Solicitors and I'm representing the applicants.
Okay, thank you. And we've got Liberty Bell guests there. Who are you, please?
So I'm Phil Stevens. I'm the general manager and also the personal license holder.
And who's the gentleman next to you?
Michael Trainer. I'm one of the owners of Liberty Bell Coffee Shop.
Okay. Is Councillor Cleary there?
I am indeed chair, yeah, Councillor Pat Cleary, ward councillor.
Okay. Is there anybody else there?
I'm Anthony Williams. I'm the resident that lives above Liberty Bell.
Okay. I think that's everybody introduced now. If we just take this slowly, we have done this a few times. We do occasionally run into difficulties, but we always overcome it. Because everyone's patient, you'll all have your fair chance to speak on 2 occasions to put your points across. Can you just confirm, Margaret, that all information's been sent out and documentation?
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that. I can also advise that one of the local residents has also asked Councillor Cleary, so Mr. Rod Heron has asked Councillor Cleary to speak on his behalf as well today.
Okay. I will give everybody a turn to speak. If you think there's anything you're not happy with, write it down. Don't start shouting across everybody. As soon as it comes to your turn to speak, you can then bring those points up. Okay. Is there any further documentation got to be brought in, Margaret?
I've not been made aware of any other documentation. I think you will be aware of that the applicant has submitted further documentation subsequent to the application, and I'm sure Ms Tulloch will explain what that relates to. There has been an amendment to the application, which I will make reference to once we start the proceedings for the hearing, but there's no further documentation. Richard Leyland is here and is able to bring up any images that you may find helpful as we progress through the hearing. In that, plans of the premises or the location. I'm sure, or I would hope that everybody would be happy with those type of references, but we can deal with those as we come across them.
Okay. Is it Miss or Mrs. Tulloch?
It's Miss. Thank
Miss,
you.
okay. Are you wanting to cross-examine anyone lately, do you think? No?
No.
Are you, Councillor Cleary, were you wanting to cross-examine anybody? Pat Cleary?
I may have questions for the applicants in due course,
Okay.
if appropriate, if that's okay, Chair, yeah.
Okay. We'll now proceed to hear and determine the application with reference to the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy the statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of Licensing Act 2003 and the 4 licensing objectives. Before I move on to them, I do have to read out another thing, which I omitted at the beginning, that this meeting will be webcast as a record retained on the council website. And for those at home viewing the webcast, I would like to inform you that if you look at the video, you will see a resources tab. Select this and a link to the agenda will appear on the right-hand side. This will allow you to open the agenda in a PDF format and follow the discussion and debate. And my role is to ensure that the committee runs smoothly, having regards to the procedures, behaviour and ethics. Going back to the licensing objectives, the 4 of them, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. And I'll now ask you, Margaret, to outline the facts of the application and the relevant representations received from all the parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And the purpose of the hearing this morning is to consider an application for a premises licence for the premises known as Liberty Coffee. The application is made by Liberty Coffee Limited and relates to premises known as Liberty Bell Coffee at number 5 Hamilton Street, Birkenhead. The application was originally submitted requesting the sale of alcohol 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. Monday to Thursday, Friday and Saturday 9 a.m. until midnight, and Sunday 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. with the premises open to the public Monday to Thursday 7 a.m. until 11:30 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 7 a.m. until midnight. And Sunday 10 a.m. until 10:30. The applicant has subsequently submitted an amendment to that application, having taken into consideration representation.
Just slow down when you read the times out, Margaret.
Okay, will do. The application has been amended to request the sale of alcohol Monday to Wednesday, 9 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. Thursday 9 a.m. until 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday 9 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. Sunday 10 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. with the premises opening to the public Monday to Wednesday 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. Thursday 7 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. Friday and Saturday 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. What is of note there is that the opening hours are requested to terminate 30 minutes after the sale of alcohol to customers in the premises and consuming alcohol in the premises. The applicant is requesting that they be permitted to sell alcohol up until the terminal hour for people who want to take alcohol away from the premises, and I'm sure that will be explained by the applicant as we progress. In respect of the application, there have been representations from local residents and from local ward councillors, and as you've heard, a local resident and ward councillor are here at the hearing this morning. The applicant has also discussed the application with Merseyside Police and has agreed a number of conditions in respect of those conversations, and I'm sure again the applicant will go through those conditions as the proceedings continue. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Have the other councillors got, the committee councillors got any questions of the officer?
No, not from me. Thank you.
Okay. Ms Tulloch, do you want to speak in support of the application?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. I don't intend to speak for very long. Mr Donald has outlined the application before you, but I just want to highlight a couple of points just to bring to your attention before you consider whether to grant the licence or not. So Phil and Mike, along with Joe, operate the Liberty Bell. Phil and Mike are here today, as you've seen. They opened the coffee shop in November last year and were trading very successfully in that format until, unfortunately, they were compelled to close in March as the country entered the lockdown. Unlike other operators in the hospitality sector, they've managed to weather the storm and reopened when they were permitted to do so in July. And this application is to enable them to develop their business. It will remain a coffee shop by and large, but they want to develop it into an early evening bistro as well, to allow customers to enjoy a glass of wine or a beer or whatever at the premises in the evening as well. The application has been set out by Margaret. As you quite rightly said, the original application asked for the sale of alcohol until 11 p.m. Monday to Thursday, midnight on a Friday and Saturday, and 10 p.m. on a Sunday, all with an additional 30 minutes drinking up time. It did attract an objection from Merseyside Police, but as Mrs O'Donnell mentioned, that was agreed. Merseyside Police asked for some additional enhanced conditions using their standard wording, for example, for the provision of CCTV, a Challenge 25 policy and so on. My client agreed to their inclusion straight away. So I think that the issue of crime and disorder, the licensing objective of crime and disorder, is probably not a live issue today. I think it's the issue of public nuisance and whether my clients can demonstrate, if you were to grant the licence, that they'd be able to uphold that particular requirement. There have been a couple of objections from residents who live upstairs, as well as councillors Cleary and Hayes. I think it's important to say from the outset that no one is asking for the application to be refused. I think there were some initial concerns regarding the hours applied for and the sort of concerns around that, which hopefully I'll be able to address shortly. Turning to the issue of the hours, my clients have liaised extensively with both councillors and their nearest neighbours, and met with them, emailed them, and really opened up the avenues of communication following the lodging of the application. And as Mrs O'Donnell mentioned, I circulated yesterday a document which sets out the amendments that my clients are more than happy to make in light of the concerns raised. So primarily, it is what we view to be a significant reduction in the hours applied for. And as Margaret set out, for sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises until 9:30 Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, 10 p.m. on Thursday and 10:30 p.m. on Friday. So that is a significant reduction from midnight, for example, on a Friday and Saturday down to 10:30. But my clients do wish to be able to sell alcohol for consumption off the premises. So those hours that I've just read out relate to consumption on the premises. So that is when last orders will be called. So last orders, for example, on a Monday will be called at 9:30 and customers will be allowed to leave the premises by no later than 10 p.m. On a Friday and Saturday, it will be 10:30 p.m. and they'll be off the premises by no later than 11 p.m. The sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises, though, to allow my clients to provide a delivery service or to allow for customers who might have been halfway through a bottle of wine, for example, to reseal that bottle and take that away with them as the evening comes to an end. So the terminal hour, so the time at which the premises will be closed, if you minded to grant the application, would be 10 p.m. Sunday to Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. Thursday, and 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, which we do feel is relatively modest and a significant reduction, and has been made to demonstrate very clearly that they take the concerns of their residents very seriously. They have the benefit of an external area They have planning and also a pavement licence to use that area. They're allowed to use it up until 9 p.m. However, in light of the concerns raised, they're more than willing to curtail the use of that space as well. So people will only be sitting outside drinking and dining until 8 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, and 6:30 on a Sunday. So it's really just to provide, particularly in the situation that we find ourselves in, where there is a greater move towards alfresco drinking and dining. Consumers sometimes are happier to do that outside at the present time rather than inside. My clients are keen to be able to provide that option to them, but again, are alive to the concerns that the residents have raised, and so happy to pull those hours back. So it really is only sort of early evening usage out there. We've also offered some additional conditions, primarily relating to the use of the external area so that it doesn't cause a nuisance, and those should be before you. They relate to dispersal and also taxis. The premises is fortunate to be located right next door to a taxi rank. It's also on a bus route, and obviously the train station is over the road. So there are ample opportunities for customers to disperse. When the premises closes in those revised hours, trains are still running, buses are still running, and taxis are obviously still available. Equally, customers may decide to disperse on foot, but they are well located in terms of that. There are a couple of other conditions regarding smokers, so they should be directed to smoke in the designated area located on the corner of Bridge Street and Hamilton Street, and that condition has been formulated following consultation with the residents, and I think it's felt that that is the most suitable place for smokers. The area will be monitored by a member of staff. Suitable receptacles shall be maintained for the disposal of any cigarette litter. The premises shall ensure frequent liaison with local taxi companies to assist with the quick dispersal of customers. And I think most importantly, the premises shall arrange quarterly meetings with the residents to discuss any concerns. The lines of communication are well and truly open, and there's been a lot of emails flying around over the last couple of weeks, but that condition makes it a requirement that the operators continue to liaise on at least a quarterly basis. And then a condition which reads, noise emanating from the premises shall not give rise to a nuisance to occupants of nearby residential accommodation. I think it's important to note, though, that the application does not include any request for live or recorded music. It's simply an application for the sale of alcohol. The provisions of the Live Music Act are there, but the premises plans on trading as a bistro. So any music played will be of a background level, and there has been ongoing discussions with both Mr. Williams and Mr. Helen regarding noise monitoring equipment and sound testing to ensure that they're not disturbed by any of the activities that take place at the premises. I don't think that necessarily engages the licensing process because those sorts of conditions regarding noise testing normally relate to applications where live music is a feature. It's not here, but my clients are engaging with them to make sure that no one is inconvenienced or disturbed. But that condition that says noise emanating from the premises shall not give rise to a nuisance to occupants would, in our view, provide those safeguards to the residents that they won't be disturbed if you grant the licence today. So as I say, there has been an extensive amount of liaison over the last few weeks. Quite a lot in my view. I think it demonstrates that my clients are responsible operators keen to engage, and and real progress has been made, and I think the issues have really been narrowed. Mark Wilkie isn't here today, but he sent an email yesterday to say that he was broadly happy with what had been agreed. And I think, without putting words into their mouths, that I would hope that those residents would acknowledge that liaison and dialogue and would allow the guys at Liberty Bell to obtain a licence, trade it, and allow them to make a success of the business. It's, the current epidemic, the pandemic that we find ourselves in is very challenging for operators. Further restrictions are coming into force next Monday, which will make it even more challenging. I think my clients, I'd ask on their behalf that they be allowed a licence to allow them to make a success of the business. Safe in the knowledge that it would be granted in such terms that the licensing objectives wouldn't or couldn't be undermined. So I would simply conclude by saying that we would ask that you grant the application in its amended form and allow my clients to develop their business. So unless you have any questions for either myself or Phil or Mike, who are also on the call, then that's the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms Tulloch. You know, obviously with your experience, you can come back later when you do your final address. Okay. Councillor Cleary, have you got any questions, not statements, questions of the solicitor or the applicants, I should say?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I do have a couple of points I'd just like to clarify, hopefully. Thanks for the presentation. I just want to clarify two things around smoking and noise. You say that smokers will be directed to the area that you highlighted. Could you just clarify how people will be directed to that area? And in terms of the noise, you point to the additional condition, but are there any physical measures proposed that will actually mitigate the noise, particularly to the flat directly above? And I know Mr. Williams will speak about that later, but yeah, they're my two questions, please.
Thank you, Councillor Cleary. It might be better if either Mike or Phil respond to the questions as they relate to operational matters. The smoking area will be monitored whilst it's in use, but they'll be better able to explain how customers will be directed to that particular location. They'll also be better able to explain the works that are being undertaken within their premises to mitigate sound issues. So if I could ask either one of them to comment, that would be great.
Before you come in, Richard, have you got anything in the way of a plan or anything on Google Earth we can have a quick look at?
Yeah, I can share a Google Street View of the premises. Bear with me a second.
I mean, I had a look this morning, but I don't know if the other councillors are aware of where it is and all that.
Oh, it used to be Oliveri's Cafe in the good old days. That's right.
Which was set up when they built Vauxhalls, people catching the bus to Vauxhalls. Mm. Whereabouts is the smoking area? So it's where it says Fun Train and that. There's this.
No, it's
round the corner.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. So where's your smoking area going to be?
Around that corner there.
Okay, carry on. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, with regards to smoking, so what we will be putting in place is clear signs telling people that it's a smoking area. Obviously, ashtrays and receptacles will be positioned there as well and not elsewhere. Just while I'm on that as well, whether it's relevant to this, we have already agreed as a part of our planning application for the pavement licence. So one concern that Fun Train, as you mentioned before, the nursery had, was smoke obviously during the operational hours. So we have already put into place where you see, this is obviously an old photo, but where our front door is, which looks like a light blue coloured, to the right of that, so the main window there, any tables that are situated outside there are clearly marked already that they are not allowed smoking during the day up until 6. And also, if you come back to the left of the door, There's also 2 tables there that as well we've designated as no smoking. So that's just obviously a measure we've put in place already just to work with the nursery. But going back to the smoking of an evening, so signs and receptacles will be placed to clearly show customers. The staff will be fully trained to keep an eye on that, and we designate, we'll tell the members of staff to continually monitor that. And obviously, if anyone, at the end of the day, if anyone is smoking outside those areas, they will be asked to move to that area. Does that answer the question on smoking?
Well, if I could just seek further clarification on one point. You said up until 6 p.m. that people sitting directly outside the main window would be asked not to smoke. Does that mean that after 6 p.m. they are allowed to smoke?
So that was before the licence. What I'm saying is we've already put measures in place, so it will be ongoing from now in this with regards to the evening offer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You finished, Pat?
Well, there was the second question around the noise abatement.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, because it's probably relevant to this. So I own quite a large recording studio in Liverpool myself. So I'm quite well versed in sound prevention and soundproofing. So what we've done over the last few weeks, we've looked at, we've obviously realised that there's an issue within our what I refer to as the main shop, which is under Tony's apartment. So obviously we've got to try and mitigate the noise transferring from the shop up into Tony's. So originally we looked at putting a dropped false ceiling in with 2, maybe 3 layers of plasterboard. Actually, what you get then is what's called a double leaf structure with regards to sound transfer. And actually, although it would help, actually the better solution we've come up with, and we've actually spoke to environmental health, and they've approved it and said it would be a good measure to put in place, is that we plan to start works. Hopefully, we're waiting on the contractor to come back to us today. We're planning to start work on Sunday, where there'll be a wooden frame placed around half a metre. Sorry, about half a metre below the existing ceiling. Okay, and that's just simply a wooden frame. And then what we will put in place is to cover the whole area of that wooden frame, which covers the whole of the ceiling of the main shop, will be Hessian coffee bags. Okay, all fire retardant and treated. And inside those coffee bags will be placed RWA 45 rock wool, between 1,000 and 1,200 millimetres thick. So each one of those bags will contain that, and that will basically act as a huge cushion, okay, on the ceiling. So the sound will hit that. There will then be the gap to the existing ceiling, and then obviously any gap then to Tony's. And I'd say in that main shop anyway, it really is only like background music, but I fully understand as well when customers are in there, there will be, obviously there'll be noise of people talking and everything. I would say from my personal experience, and also from the environmental health, they said that would be a more than adequate measure to mitigate the sound.
Okay.
If anyone wants to explain more on that sort of structure and how it works, I'm happy to.
Sure. If you don't mind, Chair, if I could just ask one more question on the noise. I mean, is it the case that when the premises are open, there will be music played? Is that the plan?
So we've already agreed that certainly for now, until we also get the decibel readings, music will not be played in the main coffee shop, which is where this issue arises, until after 8:30 a.m. But what we already have done, as soon as we realised there was an issue, is we've taken any speakers out of the ceiling, and we've reduced the speakers to 2. We've taken them basically, I think it's about a metre, maybe more down, and we've situated them onto the walls. And it's a very, very low level in there at the moment and ongoing.
Yeah, I have seen the position of the speakers myself. My question is really, if the shop is open until, say, 10 o'clock at night, will there be music played until 10 o'clock at night? That's your intention?
Yeah, it'll be background music, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions, Chair. Thanks.
Is the building listed?
Yes, it is, yeah.
It is a listed building?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, with regards to the sound or the noise, you know, you've got people outside. Is there anything you're doing to stop noise travelling up when they're sitting outside?
I'm probably not placed on that. The only thing I understood is that we couldn't have any structures because of the listed building. We couldn't have any structures.
You're not having umbrellas outside or anything like that?
Well, there's a plan to do that. There's a plan to have sort of balustrades and everything. It's proven very, very expensive at the moment, but we are planning to put balustrades. And if umbrellas will stop, I don't know the science, but whether the umbrellas will actually act as a sound barrier. I'm more than happy to look into that if that's a measure that would help. Absolutely.
Okay. With regards to after sales, if you want to call it that, are you going to be selling bottles of wine or alcohol for people to take home that haven't been opened?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
You are going to be doing that?
Only within those hours, yes.
You are?
Yes.
What is to stop people buying alcohol and then opening it so they're drinking up to the very last minute when they leave the building?
Well, because we'll be fully trained that it's drinking up an hour before.
Okay. Have the other two councillors on the committee got any questions?
Yes, I do, Chair. Yeah, and it's just to Mike and Phil. Just to Mike and Phil for clarity. One who's following up from Councillor Cllr is to the music, and just to be clear, you're not planning to have live music, and the music you will have is basically soft background music. And the other thing is referring back to the photo we just had of your premises, are all the above you all flats all full of private tenants right along RDO?
So, what was the last question? Sorry, you broke up on the last one.
Yeah, when we had the map of your premises, the photograph of your premises before, it showed above your premises, but right along are all them private flats right along that block.
I believe so, but probably Tony is probably better placed to confirm on whether they all are.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, I've just confirmed that those flats all along the front, they are residential. Mine actually covers the fun train nursery. That's my main living area over that part of it. And my kitchen and bedroom are over the Liberty Bell shop units part.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Thanks.
Dave?
Yes, thank you. It's in relation to the external area that's being used. Who will marshal that? I know when you say the smoking area, you'll have trained members of staff.
Yeah.
Should be monitoring it, but how's it going to be done?
So through trained members of staff, spotting and keeping a constant checks and walking around, and obviously and CCTV. We've got CCTV all the way around at the moment. So yeah, but I mean basically a visual on a day-to-day and a night basis. The staff will be trained to visually just keep an eye out for anyone sort of stepping outside of those.
Okay, thank you. My second question was partially answered anyway. It was one that Councillor clearly asked. I'm delighted to hear that you're putting a sound cushion in the ceiling to reduce the amount of noise. There's nothing worse than a thumping bass background noise when you're trying to get to bed. There's a bump, thump, thump. So will there be a set decibel sound that you're going to limit your recordings to?
No, so we're not planning on putting on limiters in place. To be completely honest, it will be background music in there anyway. But what we have extended to Tony, and that we will, we've been emailing over the last week, and hopefully we'll have it in place by Monday. Is we've agreed to provide Tony with a decibel meter reader, which he's actually gone and purchased himself now anyway. So what we plan to do, and Tony sort of suggested it's probably best to do this when the keeping the team is full, which I agree with, because obviously we're dealing apples with apples, and is that up in his flat, obviously he can we can have the music on at the level we would envisage it would carry on to, and then he can take the readings then and then take it from there. But with regards to an actual limited system, from what I know through being a musician before, it is obviously we wouldn't be getting up to those levels anyway for it to kick in.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Would Mr. Williams, the resident, would you like to ask any questions?
Just comment really that.
Well, no, I don't want you to comment. You
no
can come
comments,
at the end.
no.
Have you got any questions you want to ask?
Not at this stage.
You'll have a chance. I'll let you have a chance to make comments later. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Is the legal advisor want to ask any questions?
Thank you. Yes, Chair. I just wanted to address one of the issues that were raised in a couple of the representations. The submissions that we've heard in relation to the application today have covered a lot of the representations that have been made, but there was in particular reference to an incident or incidents on the 17th of and 18th of July in relation to noise, and I just wanted to know whether or not there was an event at the premises, and what the applicant's position is in relation to those representations.
Again, I think that the answer to that question might be better coming from Phil. My understanding is that event was covered by way of a temporary event notice, and there were some issues arising from it. But Phil would be able to better explain the circumstances behind it and the steps taken since.
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm on. Yeah. So basically, we it was a private event for staff. To be honest with you, obviously it's regretful that there was noise transfer, but actually, in a sense, it's actually helped us out because at the time we obviously we wrongly assumed that there was adequate soundproofing that would have been put in place by Riverside House, and but subsequently, obviously through that, it's quite it's a strange one because when you're down in the shop, it really doesn't sound loud, and obviously from the points that Tony's raised, obviously it's come to light that it was transferring from the shop into the flat. So it's brought everything to like that. I mean, we obviously we regret any noise on that night, but as I say, it's actually served as a point that we need to put these measures in place.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions at this stage. Thank you, Chair.
Do the committee members have any further questions?
No, okay. Thanks, Chair.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I'll now ask Councillor Cleary to make his representation.
Thanks, Chair. As it was indicated previously, one of the residents, Mr. Heron at Flat 5, Waterloo Court, asked me to make representations on his behalf. So I've got a few comments from him, which I'll read out first, if that's okay, and then I'll make a few points of my own.
You say whatever you want, Pat.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So Mr. Heron, as I say, he lives at flat number 5 above. That's part of the Waterloo Court complex. And just for information, it's worth pointing out, I think there's 27 flats in that complex in total. Obviously, some of them are directly above the premises in question and some are further away. So Mr. Heron's comments are as follows. Firstly, I think we can all agree that we welcome a good quality coffee bar / eatery / pavement cafe in the area. However, the application for license should have restricted hours because of residents directly above. A 7 or 8 p.m. finish would be ideal for a coffee bar, but 9 p.m. should be the absolute maximum, as it would become a real public nuisance after this due to customers smoking and talking and then leaving premises directly under our flats. I am due open heart surgery very soon, and I think I would find it very distressing being disturbed after 9 p.m. Also, even though my flat is rented, I have spent a fair bit of money to make it more comfortable, as I have made this my retirement residence due to the peaceful environment, especially of an evening. Many other residents have chosen this location for the same reason, and there are a large number who have been here 10 years or more. I have been here for 20 years. A late license will definitely change my standard of residency and quality of life. Surely residents should have an expectation of matters staying the same as when they commenced residency, and that there is no activity introduced that would disturb them at night. And all I would add is that Mr. Hearn has sent me documents from his cardiac surgeon confirming that he is awaiting an appointment for open heart surgery. So I think you can appreciate in the circumstances he didn't want to appear in person. So my own comments kind of following on from what we've already heard and having studied the documentation, I would agree with the comments made earlier that I think there's unanimous welcome for the Liberty Bell as a premises, that people feel that it's making a positive contribution to the area. I would endorse that as the ward councillor. It's certainly helping to liven up that area near Hamilton Square and by the station, and I've used it myself on occasion, so nobody is really expressing any issue with the premises or the fact that it should have a license. The issue is around the conditions that we should attach to that license. I'd also say that it's very positive that the applicants have reached out and engaged with both myself as the ward councillor and the residents. There was a meeting recently which I attended with the people from Liberty Bell plus residents from Waterloo Court. So it's important that continues, and I welcome the reassurances that we've heard this morning from Felicity about that continuing at least on a quarterly basis. I think that's really important if this premises is going to succeed and be seen as a positive contribution to the area, not just by the people who use it, but also by the people who live directly above it. It's also positive that the applicant has accepted the police recommendations, and I would also welcome the reduced hours that have been put forward today, although whether residents would say that they're sufficient is, of course, a matter that the panel will need to consider. So there's three issues in particular that I would encourage the panel to be particularly aware of. Obviously, the opening hours, taking into account what we've heard from residents and what we presumably will hear going forward as the meeting progresses. That's obviously a key factor. Noise, as I think Mr. Williams will confirm, is a particular issue, and specifically for him because he is directly above the flat. And I take into account what reassurances have been given already around the soundproofing, and obviously those are welcome. Personally, I'd feel more comfortable if there were reassurances about a limit on when music is going to be played. I think that would provide me as a ward councillor with quite a bit of reassurance if there was a commitment not to play music towards the end of the operating hours of whatever license is granted. And finally, smoking. You know, we've asked about the smoking. We've heard about the reassurances around smoking, and I think that's particularly important that those reassurances are upheld going forward. So those really are my comments, Chair. Those are the issues I think the panel needs to be particularly aware of, and obviously respect the views that are being put forward by residents in that regard. So I'll finish there. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
Before you do, Mr. Williams, I promised you could make some comments if you want to. Is there anything you want to add to that? And before you do, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
What time does the railway station close opposite you?
To my knowledge, I think the last train's probably, I don't know, quarter to 12, quarter to midnight. So sometime after that.
So do you have passengers coming in and out of the...
It's extremely quiet. You hardly ever see anybody around that time. And it's like Rod has commented in his statement. It's a reason I enjoyed the area and I'm actually here because it is just such a peaceful There is a bit of a contrast to that, obviously. I'm above a nursery. During the day, I do hear children down below. I do hear people in the streets from local offices and businesses. There's a little bit of traffic. It's not as constant as it would be on Bridge Street, because I face over towards the station on the Hamilton Street side. But no, of an evening, it does quiet down quite considerably. It's quite a contrast, really.
What time would you say the lull would sort of be, the normal lull?
Yeah. So the nursery locks up round about 6 p.m. and round about that time, you're kind of noticing that there's very few people around, really. Traffic's died down, and it's just a trick. It's more of a trickle.
Would you say that once COVID's over and done with, God help the day when it comes, and the station goes back to normal, what people coming back from Liverpool from work, what time does it normally go quiet after they've all sort of made their trip back?
From work?
Liverpool, from Liverpool.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say round about 6-ish, sort of 6, 7, yeah.
6 or 7. Okay, thank you. Do you want to make any comments now?
Just really about the description of what is being described as background music. It's, I mean, on one occasion, Rod was actually in the shop and we were having a conversation. I was upstairs working and he was listening to Lady Gaga. I really wouldn't describe that as background music. Ambient background music, obviously soft music, is a different thing, really, isn't it, to vocal Lady Gaga. So there's that kind of point. The nights which were described as party nights to celebrate, there was actually 2 of them that I know of. And the level of sound music coming from downstairs was what I'd really expect to hear in Matthew Street, for instance, in Rubber Soul Club on a Saturday night. And I was quite shocked, and I did say that in the meeting that we had with management. You know, it's whether the building is partly, you know, the problem there, transmitting the sound. You know, I can't disagree with that. There are issues with that. But it was shocking for me, and it did sound like a club in my bedroom.
Okay. So that's it?
Yes, thanks. Yeah.
Have you got a camera there, Mr. Williams?
I have.
Could you switch it on, please?
Assuming my ugly mug is showing now, yeah?
No.
Give me a second.
Has the slash sign gone out your camera?
Yeah, I've taken that off, but for some reason...
right, we'll leave it then.
Yeah.
So, oh, there you are. Right, there you are. Right.
Okay.
It's just that we're going to ask some questions now. Miss Tulloch can now ask questions of Councillor Cllr or yourself. So, do you want to carry on, Tulloch?
Yeah. Chair, I don't have any questions specifically. Some points were raised, which I think I'll need to clarify, particularly around the issue of music. But that might
when it comes to your summing up. But I'd rather you just stick to questions if you have any for either Councillor or for Mr. Williams.
No questions. Thank you, Chair.
I'll give you a chance to clarify things when you do your summing up. Okay. Does the gentleman from Liberty Bell want to ask any questions?
No, I think everything's sort of being covered ongoing and through this meeting. So.
Okay. Do the councillors on the committee want to ask any questions?
Not from me, thank you.
No, me, Chair.
Okay, what about the legal advisor? Ali?
No, nothing for me, thank you, Chair.
Okay. No questions for anybody? Right, we reverse things a little bit now. We come back to you, Pat. Do you want to make your final address to the committee?
Well,
You don't have to say anything, but if you've got
Yeah,
some...
I know. I wasn't expecting to be offered the opportunity. I will just...
I didn't say at the beginning everyone has 2 bites at the cherry.
You did indeed, yeah. My only last comment, I'm not going to repeat what I said before. I think the points have been well made, is that, you know, this area is an area we want to see more people visiting. You know, it's been an issue in Birkenhead and around Hamilton Square that how quiet it's been for a long time, and that not enough people visited, and there's not enough going on. So I would reiterate my point that we welcome what Liberty Bell is bringing to the area, and we just need to be cognizant of the impact it's going to have on residents. So there's a little bit of a conflict there between the things that we want. We want residents to enjoy living there, of course, and more people are living in and around Hamilton Square. There's been a huge increase in the population around Hamilton Square, and given the proposals and plans that the council has and the obligations that it has to build new housing, we would expect a lot more people to be living in and around this area in the future. So we need these kind of businesses to support the local economy and to help the local area to thrive. But it's really important that, given that Liberty Bell is at quite an early stage in that overall hoped for regeneration, that we get this right. So the commitments that are made around engagement with councillors and residents are really welcome, and I really hope that we can continue a positive conversation going forward, and that we can fully address the legitimate concerns that residents have around this operation. So that's it. Thanks, Chair.
Mr. Williams, do you want to make any final comments?
Would I be able to just ask a couple of questions which have sprung to mind? Would that be okay?
Well, we'll go with you for a little bit and see what you're going to ask. Yeah. Go on.
Okay. It was just regarding the actual playing of music in the shop unit rather than the main area. Why it can't actually be just played in that area to avoid all the cost when it's not, you know, likely to be as much of a disturbance to people. Obviously, there'll still be some noise from the shop without the soundproofing, but regarding the music, that would be something I'm interested in kind of knowing the reason why it can't be done that way.
We'll answer any questions you've got in line. Have you got any other questions?
Just no. I think that'll probably be okay for now.
Mr. I've forgotten your name. Sorry, the gentleman with the beard.
Phil.
Bell. What did you answer that question? What you just been asked?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, as Tony just said, then sort of answer his own question. What we believe it's in keeping with any type of coffee shop and bistro to have low background music on anyway. But regardless of music, I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't put those further soundproofing measures in place, because, as Tony says, if he's having or going to have issues with hearing staff or the coffee machine or whatever, then we need to mitigate that. We don't want, and we'd rather do this now before we operate, rather than any other time. So it's just literally a case of just belts and braces and making sure there is as little sound transfer as possible. That's why we're investing in it.
Okay. Did you answer the question, though? Why can't you move it in the other part of the building?
It's throughout the shop is one now, so I mean it's
okay. All right, we've answered the question, that's fine. Okay, right, you're coming on now, Mr. Tulloch. It's you are the final person to speak, so off you go. This is your final chance now.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try not to be too long, and I hope my voice holds out for the next couple of minutes. I want to thank, obviously, Councillor Cllr and Mr. Williams for attending. I think you can hear that there's a lot of commonality on both sides. We're not actually that far apart at all. And it's really welcome to hear Councillor Cllr talking about the desire to activate the area, encourage more people to come. And I think the Liberty Bell want to certainly play their part in doing that in what is very difficult trading circumstances at the moment. But putting that to one side, this obviously comes down to the issue of the licensing objectives and whether if you grant this licence, they can be felt to be responsible operators and to run it correctly. And I think they absolutely can. And I think you've heard from them. Phil is obviously very knowledgeable about acoustics. He has, I think, satisfactorily answered questions regarding the management of the external area and how the premises will operate. They've obviously given excuse me, a lot of thought about how not to create a nuisance when they trade. On the issue of music, though, I think it's important for me to highlight the legal position from where we stand. As I said, the application does not include any request for live or recorded music. That's not to say that there won't be some played necessarily, but that is governed by the provisions of the Live Music Act. It might be that on a Friday evening, they would want an acoustic guitarist, for example, to create a bit of ambience for their diners. But that provision is outside the Licensing Act now and has been for a number of years. So conditions regarding decibel levels, for example, or a condition that says no live music can be played just simply wouldn't bite or take effect if they were imposed. Now, that's not to say that my clients want or will. Maybe you've heard from them that they are taking very serious steps, costly steps, to soundproof their part of the building to make sure that noise doesn't escape. I think it's important to know we've not had an objection from the environmental health team. And just because if they were to have an acoustic musician on a Friday night, although it doesn't fall within the Licensing Act, that doesn't give them carte blanche to cause a nuisance, because there are other legislative safeguards in place. Noise abatement notices are regularly issued to premises, in my experience, who cause an issue, and indeed a review of a licence in serious cases. But the Live Music Act was designed to be permissive, and it was felt that 11 p.m. Was a suitable cut-off time for those sorts of activities. But you've heard that we are prepared to pull the hours back significantly from that. So if there were to be music played, it would cease, when the premises closes, and that could be at 9:30, 10, 10:30, as the week goes on. So whatever activities take place at the premises won't be going on late into the night. My clients are absolutely committed that they do not want to cause any issues to their neighbours. They're tenants as well. They're all tenants of the same building. And, as neighbours, they need to make sure that they get along. And as you've heard, there are steps being taken place next Monday to monitor sound levels. So those works are ongoing and will take place beyond this hearing and this decision. So I think I would probably just sum up by saying we would ask you to grant the licence in its amended form as per the document that was circulated to Richard Leyland yesterday, and which I've already gone through. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cleary, are you there?
I am indeed, Chair, yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to say anything else again. Are you happy that you've had enough to say today for the minutes?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, okay. I've said everything I wanted to say.
Mr. Williams, are you happy you've had enough to say for the minutes?
There's probably one comment I didn't intend to say. I'm probably not. I should have said it earlier, perhaps. But basically, the design of the building, due to the fact that my bedroom has very high ceilings with 8-foot sash windows. It's designed. It looks like a box, basically, the room, which is half of the wall a window and 10-foot ceiling. So you can imagine like a church effect from any noise downstairs.
Okay. Are you happy you've had enough to say now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Miss Tulloch, are you happy you've had enough to say? Yes?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
And also the gentleman from Liberty Bell, is it Mark, is it?
Phil.
Phil. Get it right in the end. Are you happy you've had enough to say?
No, yeah, thank you to everyone. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Right. The applicant, the ward councillor, members of the public will be excluded from the meeting under Regulation 14.2 of the Licensing Act 2003 hearings, Regulations 2005, whilst the application is determined. And the decision of the subcommittee will be communicated to all parties within the next 5 working days. Thank you for your time. Okay, you may now leave.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're going-